G'day guys, welcome to another weekly developer update. This is CW, and once again joining me is Armeanio. How are you, mate?
It's a pleasure to be here. I'm doing good.
That's good. Another sort of substantial weekly developer update we've got going on here. Sort of what piqued your interest this week?
Well, I'm pretty excited to see Babel fees. That's a framework that came actually from the Cardano ecosystem that they, did some research on, had been talking about, and we're going to have our own Ergo implementation of it. Basically, what a Babel fee is it allows users to pay miners from their perspective in any token, essentially, that's supported. So if you're holding ErgoPad and you want to send a transaction, it will swap the Erg and pay the fee on the back end to miners without you needing to directly hold Erg before you send the transaction, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a novel sort of little concept, I guess. It's made possible by EUTXO.
Yeah, it's going to be big. There's, a couple of different really nice use cases for that. One of which is if you were to see a stablecoin based wallet that simply held, dollars or Australian dollars or euros or whatever, form of stablecoin we see in the future. You have the ability to send a transaction and you would actually pay the fee from your perspective in that native currency rather than the base currency Erg. That opens up a lot of use cases in terms of allowing normal people to use kind of stable derivatives in crypto to transact.
Yeah, really exciting. I can't wait for this one to sort of come to fruition.
Yeah, right. And I do think it'll also be a pretty key part of subpooling in the future.
Yeah, true. So obviously, with the subpooling, we've spoken a little about people or projects launching via work. It's an interesting concept there because they don't have to hold the base fee or the base currency of Erg on Ergo blockchain. They can the project can distribute their tokens, say token X, to the miners, and then they can sort of create a market out of nothing or from nothing.
It'll be interesting to see that, because the initial first coins that are emitted will actually need to have some sort of market set up for them in order to pay Babel fees. So those first miners that set a network in something that's like a pure subpooling launch will need a few Erg to actually set some sort of exchange rate. And then hopefully with demand, the market will just organically develop around that, which will be really interesting to watch.
Yeah, fair launch project or fair launch native token. It's pretty cool.
It's going to be big. I'm really looking forward to that.
All right, well, let's jump into the dev update. First off, we have Captain Nemo. Do you just want to take Nemo?
Sure. So Nautilus has released version 0.4.3 with dApp connectors, change box detection improvements, and some new asset icons. They produced a pre-release of Ergo Auth support for dApp developers. There's a lot of discussions on Ergo Auth improvements that are happening in the community. Right now, he's working on the transaction history and hybrid sync, which will be interesting to see. I know that's something that their team has been playing with for a while.
Yep.
EIP12 in JS, working on a static typing library for EIP12 specs that should be released this week.
Sweet. Moving on, we've got Morphic. Once again, with the Sigma updates, they finished migration of Sigma to Scala 2.13, investigated an issue with unit registers in version 4.1x, implemented tests for unit registers in version 5, so the PR is ready for review, and has a couple of PRs towards 5.0.1 with the AOTC cleanup. So just waiting for review of that. Performed a security audit for the wallet app release, and just reviewed a number of PRs Ergo EIPs, AppKit, and Sigma. And then next up, cross compilation of Sigma with all 3 Sigma versions. So 2.11 through to 2.13. Next up, MrStahlfelge.
Sure. Looks like in the last week, he's released a new wallet app, version 1.10.2213. Due to problems with purpose messages and smart contracts and beta channels. He's doing more work on the wallet app desktop port, which is going to be a pretty big improvement, getting a desktop version of the Android and iPhone wallet, probably pretty same user experience. He's also working on the Mosaic 4 web. He's completed the part 3 of the tutorial, and the pre-release version is here. That's going to be a pretty nice thing to see. Basically, it will define, UI for applications within wallets. We had talked about the need for having kind of the DApp experience in the wallet rather than outside of the wallet, and what he's building with Mosaic is opening the door towards that. So it's going to be pretty nice to see, simple user interfaces where, from the user's perspective, you really get away from like the find the website, connect your wallet, copy paste. That's kind of it's just multiple steps, stresses people. So having everything in one simple package, really is a big deal.
Yeah, you've mentioned it a couple of times, kind of green button everything, and this is sort of one step towards being able to utilize dApps in that respect. So moving on, we have Greenhat, and once again, Greenhat and his team have been working on the Oracle sort of V2 updates. So finished a vote for update pool command PR. Working on moving contracts and parameters definitions to a config file. Jasek is finishing the locking update for the NFTs contract update contract box. Working on a new pool command box command. And Greenhat's progress just finished a refresh box and transaction outputs in the bootstrap command. Merged the bootstrap complex scenario and testing. Hunted a failed box passing from JSON in the case of an incorrect Ergo tree. And during the manual testing on testnet, found that Ergo node interface fails to recognize a failed request to the node on the transactions API. So also found that the transaction fee's been unrecognized by the node on post. So it's nice to find that. And besides that, just planning to look into splitting that PR, so Ergo wallet PR and the node PR. Just request from scalahub there, or to scalahub, just please update the ballot contract in the EIP PR with Tim L proposes. So scrolling down, we can see all the repos there, and onto Kushti.
Sure, it looks like we had the node development in 5.0 on his plate. He released 2 reference clients this week, 4.0.32 and 4.0.33. A lot of new features are merged. Unfortunately, 4.0.33 had a PR that was not properly tested, so he then released 4.0.34 to basically pull that back for further testing. Looks like they're going to introduce some new requirements for contributions. Look, we did have the 5.0 testnet that was launched, and used the 5.0 reference client 1 to play around on it. They're working on refactoring and reviewing the P2P layer and other aspects of 5.0. So on to Dexy and other matters. He's actually spending the day tomorrow and I believe Thursday with Bruno, who was the researcher who came up with the GED framework and who came out with the formal GED paper. So they're going to get together and discuss different stablecoin designs, trade-offs. That's a pretty high-level discussion. I kind of wish I was in the fly on the wall in that room. But
that's what I was just about to say. If only you're a fly on the wall for that one.
Yeah, it would be neat to see. So I'm really curious to see. I know Bruno has some ideas of what could potentially be beyond Jet even, and I know Alex has been working on the Dexy framework, and there may be some similarities, overlaps, things to learn from each other. So in the next 2 days, I'm really looking forward to getting kind of a update on where things have landed. So they're still discussing the Dexy contracts with scalahub. He has reviewed EIP 31, which is the Babel fees, which we covered in the intro. He's investigated an issue, proxified withdrawal from Sigma USDIO made in the presence of attachment added by Ergo wallet. And after some discussions, EIP 29 has kind of been put on ice for a bit. So we'll be excited to see what comes next. I know he's going to jump on the Ergo auth EIP and review it, give some community feedback.
Awesome. Look forward to sort of what comes out of the conversation with Bruno himself. Moving on, we have Luivatra with the EGIO staking. It's ready to go on their Paideia staking setup. So that includes add stake and no unstake penalties. So that should be live in a few hours, which will be live once this video, once you guys are watching this video. ErgoPad is in a stable and performing state now, although they just continue to tinker with that. Continued work on Paideia, both on the front and back end, and have and started writing an ERP6 description for the different contracts and transactions that will be needed. So he thinks, hopes to have decent draft ready in the next week's update. So moving on, we have Comet. Do you want to take Comet, mate?
Yeah, I'll take Comet. Says that even though Jose won't let me post here, I will. Well, I appreciate that. Comet now has wallets. So what the Comet coin has been doing is cloning the wallets that already exist in the ecosystem and sticking their brand on it, right? One thing they did do, and beyond making things more Comet-ish, is they actually did increase the unused addresses that you can create in Nautilus to 50 from 20. So it's easier for airdrop snipers to basically try to get as many airdrops as possible, I guess. Which, that now you could, I guess you could have like 50 different addresses and it's all one guy.
Oh dear. What can of worms have we opened?
That's progress. I'll take it. So soon it will be able to be downloaded from the Chrome store. So they did actually get it listed, and they cloned Set Ergo as well and made it more Comet-ish. And it looks like now they're going to clone MrStahlfelge's wallet. So at least they're doing something, right? It doesn't look like anything particularly original other than taking something and putting their name on it, but I guess that's progress.
Open source.
Yeah, it's open source, and that is one beauty of open source. The real question is going to be, are these wallets going to stay up to date with the ones that they ripped off, or are they going to be allowed to kind of be dead versions? So my challenge to Comment was going to be, if you're going to clearly, just copy paste somebody, at least keep it up to date for the community.
Yeah, we don't want anything any vulnerabilities or anything come to light because something hasn't been updated. So yeah, please do so.
Yeah, and I actually heard from Nemo. He told me that they had asked, and at first they actually wanted to try to up that number to 1,000 addresses, which is a bit ridiculous, but it's like its own Sybil attack, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh dear.
Oh, if
Meme
you're going to be
coins.
airdropping stuff on Ergo, be careful now. 50 different faces behind one wallet.
Yeah, exactly. So moving on, we have Ilya from ErgoDex. So continuing to work on the Explorer, has V5 testnet set up. The GraphQL server is set up, and request caching is a work in progress. Then on to ErgoDex. They fixed a HTTP cache leak that was on the ErgoDex Analytics API, and preparing new pool contract version with the support of custom liquidity mining and stable pools testing. So thanks once again for that update. And on to the next Ilya. Do you want to take that one?
Sure. So the next Ilya from Sigma Valley has made a really nice little tool called Ka-Ching, which is basically uses a custom webhook and notifies people on Twitter when there has been a transaction. They're connected it to ErgoDex and other centralized exchange addresses. And so then it posts on Twitter if something is interesting. It reminds me of, what was that? There's a bot called Billy Buybot, I think.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Billy. I haven't heard Billy for a while.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Glasgow ended up turning that off, maybe, or there was an issue with it. I'm not sure, but it kind of would post like big buys, big sells in the ecosystem, and it's kind of interesting because it does pull people's attention to kind of watch what's happening on chain without having to watch the actual Explorer, and dig through blocks. So it's a nice trading tool. I do know that as the ecosystem develops, having information symmetry versus asymmetry is kind of important, that users have some notion of what's happening, and traders are usually very plugged into that and spend a lot of time to gather information. But having a open source tool that's just posting everywhere, Ka-Ching, something happened, it's pretty nice. So good job, Ilya. I like that.
Yeah, so they do the deposit and withdrawals for the various exchanges, and then also some sort of whale activity that they've got going on ErgoDex. They'll sort of highlight the larger transactions there. Do you want to say anything in regards to what Kushti says there? The Babel fees ERP looks quite good.
Sure, he said the Babel fees look pretty good. He's talking about a privacy-oriented or sovereign wallet, either Minotaur, what Adberg has put together with Ergo, perhaps Haileypdll can create a fork that makes it show USD only and has the fees paid in USD. So you kind of create a decentralized dollar wallet, and you basically delete all of the complexities of blockchain from users, and who knows, potentially if you do have a privacy-oriented decentralized stablecoin wallet, you can also get the off-chain code supported for the mixer. And I do know that Sigma Join, since it has the ability to interact from a wallet, potentially that would be a pretty neat development to see.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting.
And then Saturgo said that comment. If it's possible, we will try. We are good at copying. Making new things will be a challenge because we are not devs. Well, they did. You know what? If they can clone a wallet and support it, I'll be happy.
Yeah, who knows what that can come out of that as well. Obviously, this open source opens the conversation around things, and we might see some improvements. Moving on, we have Jay the Ergod with the Night Owl update. So on the front end, they continue moving to Next.js structure with Tailwind. working on sounds for animations, SAFEW and Nautilus compatibility working is in the DApp connector. That's good to see. And then on the back end, they've got the payout service working in the in code for roulette. Also looking into why Nautilus wallet's not displaying the JSON payload for signing. Continued creating their production version of the backend servers, aiming to start internal roulette testing next week, and implementing AVL trees in ErgoScript. So that'll be a valuable tool for many of the contracts. And then they're doing a couple of new interviews, so a couple more technical side of things, and continued discussions with third-party dev integration.
Looks like Haileypdll has released a new version of Safe Wallet, 0.6.5, to improve the CSV export. So there's no longer a 500 transaction limit, and there's an improved format. And it looks like we also have support for the React Ergo connector that was released in the last hackathon. So that's pretty awesome to see.
Yeah, awesome. Moving on, we have scalahub. Just an apology there for the delay. Not too many updates from him for this week. So just on Dexy, just added a fee in liquidity pool contract, and then a work in progress for adding the fee in the minting contracts onto Oracle Pool V2 in the ballot boxes. It was reported that a dummy token is required in one spending path. So a basic fix has been tested and will add to the EIP. Next up, Marty from ErgoPad.
Sure, it looks like they've been busy. Paideia has an update. Noob got Ergo Auth working, so logins are signed with a wallet now. Louis has started on smart contracts. Apparently he's later on, or actually earlier with the...
Earlier, yeah.
Yeah, we already passed him. Yeah. Front end is also having a lot of progress. They're working on a random NFT sales contract. LGD has finished the schematics for simple random sales and the more complicated version for BlitzTCG pack opening. That's awesome to see.
Yeah. I really like what they're doing, the Blitz guys.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I kind of respect how they're, building something before they actually, try to sell something. And sometimes it's hard, depending on the complexity of a project, it can take years. Ergo, was in testnet and development for like 2 years before it launched. And, that takes a certain level of commitment and also time and resources, which, is sometimes hard to spin up. But if people are able to, build at least like a minimal viable product before they launch, at least people know that there's something there.
Yeah, there's substance behind it.
Yeah, sometimes in this space, it's like not the case. Let's just say that. I'll be nice today. ErgoPad has a update. Leif has done a lot of optimizations, moving their web services away from the Ergo Explorer. Looks like they're now using their own database and can customize queries based on their own needs, which is awesome to see. Their website has gone from 30-second API calls to under a second. So that's a major performance enhancement. So great job, Leif.
Yeah, very significant improvement. So on to Cheese Enthusiast. This is pretty substantial update. So this week has been playing with Plasma with great results. So the GetBlok Plasma beta release will be happening tonight or tomorrow. So by the time this video is released, it should be out. He's updated the README on the site to give a better explanation on how to use the library. He's temporarily scrapped the Sway database implementation. So that'll give more support to alternative sort of Ergo clients in the future. And then the level DB implementation still works perfectly. Added support for generating AVL trees using manifests, as well as creating temporary trees with no storage database attached to them. So in testing, he's performed multiple tests and used the Plasma library and integrated AVL trees into contracts, and specifically designed the first draft of the contracts that would be used to replace the current smart pool contracts that are running on GetBlok. During the test, was able to store 2,200 miners on chain and then in a single box holding an AVL tree. It's big.
Yeah.
And then later in the test, was able to pay out 300 miners in a single transaction. So 33% less transaction cost than a single smart pool transaction. Currently, a single smart pool is only able to pay out a minimum of 10 miners. So that's a pretty significant increase also. A description of the contract draft, as well as a link to the transactions, which were broadcast to mainnet, can be found in that link. And moving on, we were making an alternative set of Plasma-based smart pool contracts to store the balances on chain. And then with the progress he's been making, hope to test and integrate these contracts into our subpools by next week. So moving along quite quickly there. Then with the beta release coming out, ask everyone to look through the code and try breaking it. I'll be putting it up, putting on a Sonatype repo later today. So currently uses AppKit 4.0.8 with 4.0.9 support coming later in the week.
Right, that's huge.
Massive.
That's actually kind of funny. It sounds like ErgoPad got about a 30-time improvement in terms of their API calls, and GetBlok matched them with a 30-time improvement with their potential miner payouts.
Yeah,
less reduction. So that's awesome.
Exactly, quite a coincidence there. So moving on, we have LowKeyNerd with BlitzTCG.
Sure. So for Blitz, the recent Reddit update covers just about everything. Anybody that's interested, hop on the Reddit or onto Discord and go to the development channel, find this, click the link, and you can read all about the update number 5.
All right, that wraps up the update for this week. What sort of piqued your interest there?
Obviously Plasma is going to be big, but I think that seeing Plasma in parallel with Babel fees is a beautiful, synchronicity, right? Because if I want to mine let's say mine a new coin, and I need to figure out how to, as a miner, let's say that subpool only pays out that one coin. I'm in trouble if I've never mined Erg before because I don't have any, right? It creates a weird bottleneck that Babel fees overcomes. And so having not only that bottleneck potentially alleviated before it's even a problem, but also having the performance improvements from scaling solutions in a mining pool, that's just big foundation for future growth.
Yeah, exactly. And who knows which way things will head in regards to sort of the post-ETH merge whenever that happens. Could see quite a big influx of miners throughout Ergo, and to have all this sort of infrastructure ready is pretty big.
Yeah, I'm quite excited. I think that the day we see a project fully launch via subpooling, it is going to be a big day for the ecosystem. And so what I'm seeing is a lot of the backend components that are necessary to support that coming together. And so I think that who knows, maybe this year we'll see that. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, it'd be exciting to see. And then you have bragging rights also from the project perspective of being the first one to launch via work.
Yeah, and then Comet's going to come out with Comet 2.0 and copy it.
No comment.
No, but I'm excited. I really think that the ability to launch on top of a decentralized network is basically going to mean any project that chooses that vector is going to be more decentralized from Genesis than Ergo even was.
It's an interesting concept to sort of think about as well, is in regards to sort of the unknowns in regards to regulation and what the future holds in that respect, and the determination of what is a security and a commodity, and and what other sort of category that they sort of come up with, and sort of silo each sort of project in. It'd be interesting to sort of see how that sort of differs across the board.
I'm very curious. I think that if a project can have transparent tokenomics, even if it's something like Ergo did, where every block for a period of time, a small portion of that was sent then to the foundation to fund and bootstrap the system. Well, if a project follows that same framework, it should be quite fascinating to see where they can potentially fund developers, pay for servers, do all of the things that do cost money, but also be decentralized and have a fair launch and not be able to front run any of the miners. I'm fascinated to watch how it develops.
Yeah, exactly. And then the miners are the one to set the market values just from day one. It's pretty interesting for the miners to have that control.
Yeah, it's ultimately, in my opinion, probably one of the biggest improvements in proof of work since Stratum pooling. So I'm excited to watch and kind of be a part of it.
Yeah, exactly. Very well said. So watch this space. All right, guys. Well, thanks once again for tuning in for another weekly developer update. I think we sort of touched on pretty big things that are happening in the ecosystem on this one. So yeah, really looking forward to seeing how everything sort of comes to fruition. Thanks again for joining, Armeanio. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, always.
Cheers.